Welcome, everybody. My name is Paul Latelier. I am the founder and the director of Learning Life, and this dialogue is part of our family diplomacy initiative. And As you guys are, I think all of you are now aware, the Family Diplomacy Initiative is kind of a long-term effort to get people involved in international citizen diplomacy through the prism of family. I'm going to actually share my screen and show you guys. Hold on a second here. Um, Share with you just some basic information about about the Family Diplomacy Initiative. Here comes Joe. Um, we have three different programs as an organization, but the Family Diplomacy Initiative is an effort to connect people across the world through across lines of country, class, race, religion, via the internet to share and learn together about families and citizen diplomacy with an eye to developing a core, a group across the world of trained family diplomats to advocate for a more caring world via media, businesses, governments, and nonprofits. There's more information about this at our FDI page, the Family Diplomacy page, much more information and connections to lots of things. Um, I'm about to share with you on in the Zoom chat a set of ways in which you can stay engaged. Hold on a second here. There, hopefully it goes through. Yes. One is to attend these monthly dialogues, which will be going on for through November at 12 to 1 p.m. on the first Sunday of every month. Two is to join if you're not already a member of our FDI Facebook group. Three, if you're not already connected to us on YouTube, we post all of the recordings of our meetings and trainings that we've had, so you can see kind of the history of the Family Diplomacy Initiative, as well as our other videos through our YouTube channel, which we encourage you to follow Learning Life on YouTube. And lastly, for those of you who are interested, I'm thinking, Maria, you may be interested in particular, Maria from Brazil. I think Juliana, you may likewise be interested. Likewise from Brazil, we have opportunities to serve as family diplomats and family diplomacy ambassadors. There are two different roles that we're developing. And that link, the last link you see here in the Zoom chat, gives you more details about both. Those are official roles with us. And we're going to be holding, probably likely to start with bi-weekly meetings. So every 2 weeks, meetings via Zoom with our family diplomacy ambassadors. So those details are there. Um, Let me just see here if there's anything else to tell you, which there is. So just to remind you, these dialogues are a simple way for us to essentially communicate what family diplomacy can be. At its simplest, family diplomacy is a group of people coming together across borders to talk about family life in different countries. And so hence why we're doing this is to kind of showcase family diplomacy. But this is also an opportunity of course, for us to learn about family, our similarities, our differences, the kinds of challenges that we're facing as families, and trends in family life. And of course, to grow our family diplomacy community. Um, just a couple of other things. Today, we are going to have two speakers. We have Abdul Basit, who is joining us from Ghana, and I'm hoping, I think he's still having issues with his Zainab. I'm assuming he's still having issues with his connection. But uh, so if all goes well, Abdul will be able to present about his family in Ghana, and then we will proceed to Joe Tolles, who's going to be presenting about his family from the United States. And then we between their so they're each presenting for 5 minutes, and then between their presentations we're having discussion, and I encourage all of you to actively participate by asking questions, making comments during their presentations. You can do that in the Zoom chat, and I encourage you to do so, and then post questions and comments that can be the basis for our conversation. So and then lastly, um, we are video recording, as you might have noticed. Azmi and Zainab are going to be taking screenshots. Those are two of our interns are going to be taking screenshots throughout the dialogue. And Estelle and Akil, who are two of our other interns, if you could raise your hands, Estelle and Akil. Is Akil not here? It doesn't look like Akil is here. Instead, can you reach out to Akil, call him up, and make sure that he's joining us? They will be tracking attendance and participation. We track attendance and participation for our family diplomats and family diplomacy ambassadors. So they may contact you individually, but I would much appreciate it for their purposes if you could just put, and I'll add this to the Zoom chat, if you can put in the Zoom chat this basic information about yourself. So your first and your last name, your city and your country, current and of origin, and then your email and Facebook profile link as well, if you would. We are keeping track of all these things. If you see my electronic hand go up, I have no idea why that is. Just ignore my electronic hand. I'm not trying to speak. So anyway, let's get started. With Abdul, if he's able to hear us, and if not, then we'll proceed to Joe first. Abdul, can you hear us? Okay, so I think that Abdul may be still having some connection issues. So Zainab, if you can just continue to try to reach out to him. I'm going to also, Zainab, put you in Facebook contact with him so you can try to chat with him through Facebook and see if you can help him out.
Yeah, I messaged him on Facebook, but
Oh, you did?
and on the Zoom chat, but I'm not sure if he's having technical difficulties. I haven't received a response yet.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Joe, you are first, unexpectedly. You're muted as well.
Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties as well, Paul. Um, Although I did the work on my other laptop and I have it. Hold on just one second. I may not be able to show it full size. That's about it. Um,
And by the way, while you guys are sharing, and Thais, thanks for sharing the basic information that Estelle and Akil need. But you can each, if you don't want to share publicly your Gmail and your Facebook, you can just privately message Estelle, and she'll get that information. It's Estelle Cohen. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
so the problem is I just can't open it all the way. So, okay, hold on one second. You can,
If you're having issues and you want to just share something to me, or you can do that and then I can show it for you.
it just won't be full size. So, let me. I'm just able to share. Okay, yes, I
Yeah,
see.
you should be able to share.
All right. And I thought I would start with a video I did to intro my podcast because it's really everything. It's right in one. Can you guys see it?
Yes, it's short, I'm assuming.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry I did that.
Yeah, it's always best to load these things before you get on Zoom, I think,
I
because
was trying. Okay,
it's
here we
okay.
go. Hi, I'm Joe Tolles. Growing up in the foster care system, working within it, and single-handedly raising 8 teens adopted from the foster care system has given me a unique view into that world. My reputation for working to keep children connected, healthy, and happy with families who love them is important to me. Who I am today is a far cry from what my circumstances might have dictated. To start, I had to navigate my own childhood hurdles to become the athlete, father, and therapist I am today. Together with child advocate specialist Renee Damon and our guest, I will highlight the issues that impacted me on my journey, issues that are most likely impacting children and families today. Join us as we examine my first steps out of the starting blocks and into the race. So that's a snapshot of of my life as quickly as it could possibly be. I grew up in foster care, and that's a picture of me while I was in foster care. And when I turned 49 and wasn't married, I decided that I wanted to move ahead and have a family. And so I started adopting. My first son was, well, let me just, these are, so I have total of 10 children. Seven were adopted from the foster care system. One was an adult adoption, and two, these two were moral adoptions. They're both named Miguel. Miguel on the left is from the Dominican Republic, and Miguel on the right is from Cuba. Miguel on the left is no longer with us. We lost him due to some gun violence that he just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. These are pictures of these are my the last four kids that I had. So I adopted four and then retired and was thinking of just retiring. And then I got a phone call and that turned into four more of these kids. This is Sincere on the left. The tall one in the back is Trenton. The one who's graduating is Cameron. And the one on the right is John. He's also from the Dominican Republic. And that's another picture of some of them. This is sort of a mix of the first four and the last four. Xavier, who's on the right, is the first one that was adopted from the foster care system. He was 17 years old when he moved in with me, and 18 when he was adopted.
Joe,
Going through,
it occurs to me that you can widen your screen so that we can see this because otherwise we're seeing everything like your Microsoft Word and so on. If you click that button, you see the bot at the bottom, the orange button that says play right next to that. There's a to the right. Click that button, and then that'll blow it up.
yeah, none
Okay.
of those buttons are working. That's what the problem was.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So I apologize for that.
Okay.
So can you see the
Yes.
mouse though? Okay, so this is Xavier. He's now 33. Cameron is now 20. Um, Sincere is 19. Crimel is 26, I think. And John is actually Crimel is 28 and John is 26. Just more pictures of us. And these were the first four. Um, Ronnie, who is I haven't seen him well since for 2 years now. I took his family to Disney. Jonathan and Ronnie still live in the Northeast, as well as Xavier. Well, they all of them actually still live in the Northeast. So these were my first four kids. So that's that's the big that's the history of my children. I'm going to stop the share because this is distracting me, if that's okay.
Yep.
I spend a lot of time advocating for kids in care in particular. And so my sort of introduction and I guess interest with learning life was how do I
get my message out and be more global with it. So I've had some success in that every few years somebody wants to do a story on us. So we've had the New York Post, and we've done the Rachel Ray show, which is a big, which was a big television show. And I just finished doing a campaign for called Songs of a Journey, where I created music videos for every week of the month of May, which was Foster Care Awareness Month. So I'm better with answering questions. So if you have questions, um,
Yeah.
I will be happy to.
Yeah, so questions. And by the way, before we take questions, I need to take a screenshot of everybody. Begum, you may want to turn the reason why your camera keeps going dark is because you should be facing the light. So if you turned around and actually face that light, you wouldn't have this problem of the camera going obscure every time. Yeah, by all means, raise your hands if you have electronic hands, if you have if you have any questions for Joe. But before you yeah, you actually have to turn towards the light. I don't know if that's possible for you, Bigger, but let me share. So I'm going to take a screenshot. Eric, Joshua, who are joining us from Burundi and Uganda, if you can turn your cameras on. Likewise, Clinton from Zambia, if you can turn your camera on temporarily. On three, if you can smile. One, two, three, smile. Fantastic. Let me take another shot with Clinton because I just did not get him in time. So hold on, Clinton. Um, okay. One, two, three, smile. Great. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Maria, you're first with questions.
Yes, hello everybody. So nice to be back here. Um, Joseph, first we want to say that you have a beautiful family and that we
Thank
are
you.
also sorry for your loss and thank you for sharing everything. We would like to know how was this process of adopting and like we wanted to know how people around you reacted to how many children you have because we were talking here during your presentation. My mom has 4 kids and she was saying that she received a lot of criticism of people saying you have a lot of kids, how are you going to provide for everybody, how you're going to you know give basic stuff like education, food. And she said she was, at the beginning, she was very criticized about how many kids she was choosing to have. And you were talking, and she was just like, wow, he might have faced a lot of hard stuff regarding this, like people criticizing. So we wanted to understand how was that process for you and your family about other people um, looking outside of your experience and reality.
Yeah, it's mixed. I mean, there's a lot of people. I concentrated on teenagers. So they're the forbidden fruit of children. It's like, why would you bring in teenagers? You know, they were half baked, is what I used to say about them when I explained. So whatever they were, they were. But I made that decision to bring them in with who at the place that they were, and so they all came with different issues and different experiences in life. But my motivation was to provide something that I didn't get. I grew up in foster care for 21 years. So that's just short of a third of my life without having that permanency. And so when I was looking at foster care, it wasn't really about a temporary situation, which is what foster care was supposed to be. It was permanent. I was going to adopt them. And never was I going to turn them back or, a lot of people do that. So people know who I am. I was a teacher and an educator and a therapist. Um, my closest friends, I'm sure some of them thought I was crazy. Um, there's sometimes when I thought I was crazy, because it wasn't easy, right? It was trying to form a relationship with kids who had lost their families, had different life experiences, different, um, just, you know, I was living in sort of a, a upper middle class neighborhood, and a lot of those kids were not from an upper middle class neighborhood, so they had to make those adjustments. Um, but in terms of the finances, um, the all of my kids that were adopted from the foster care system, because of their age of being adopted, there was an adoption subsidy. So there was some income, and they came with health insurance. Although I put them all on my health insurance because it was just better quality health insurance. There was some financial assistance, and a lot of people take
Joe, just to interrupt for a moment, where did that assistance come from, and was it monthly? So you were getting from the state of Alabama or the county or
you know,
something?
I lived in New York, so and each state has a different age of when a different age when a child ages out. So in New York, a child ages out at age 21. So it's federal money that's allotted to kids with special needs, special circumstances, and those circumstances were that they were old and nobody wanted them. And um, so, you know, there are people that I think take advantage of that and they get as many kids as they want. The way that I spend my money on my kids, you know, was helpful to have it, but I usually depleted it almost immediately
With
because
what?
they come with what they say again, Paul?
With what? What were you spending the money on?
Them, clothes. They didn't have anything. Experiences. I took my kids on cruises. A few of my kids went to camp every summer in the British Virgin Islands. Um, that's, obviously they're not giving me money to cover all of the things that I need to cover, but I was working as well, and so my salary was helpful. In terms of feeding kids, if you cook for it's not that much more expensive. It's the things that they wanted to do that they didn't have the experiences of doing in the places that they were. That was uh, the cost. And I wanted my kids to know that the world was theirs, that they didn't have to stay isolated in the system of foster care or their economic situation or their family's economic situation, that they could be bigger and better than the experiences that they lived.
Angel.
Oh, thank you, Paul, for sharing this unique story. Because I never heard about like people adopting like that much children. Also, like the old like how older age they are. Because also like I have a I and then that's like related to my question, which is like how you can like build the trust between you and your children, because I know they are not like little kids, like do not have memories like 1 years old or 2 years old, which like you can raise them from the beginning. They have memories from like when they were like probably like lost their family, or like they are abandoned by other people's, like they will be like way more heartbroken and vulnerable than the kids that have a families before. So they will be more like doubting other people say, oh, probably they like do something, probably will do something bad to me, or like they're just like really hard to like build the trust. So I really like curious about because you have like lots of kids, and I like from your sharing, I feel that you have a really good relationship with them, and then all those like good pictures and all the stories and everything. So I just like really want to know about that.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Joe, it speak, to the challenges, right, of working with kids, just as Angel described it, right? You've spoken to me about some of this, but it would be great if you're willing to share.
Sure. I think one of the benefits of at my family is that there's not one person who has not experienced loss of a family. So including myself. So we were put together, um, and there were no differences. Nobody could hold that as an albatross around their neck and say, "You don't understand."
Hmm.
What we could say is, "I don't really care." Like, get over it, right? So that was very helpful to the construction of my family, that they didn't feel different, that they didn't feel more damaged than the next person. And so that was extremely helpful. Now, in terms of trust, these are 10 different people, 10 different circumstances. It is about building a relationship. And you have to start where they're at. There were those kids who didn't trust. There's one of my boys in one of the videos, he said that he was shocked because he was challenging to me because he did everything to sort of push me away, and I wasn't going anywhere. And he said in one of the videos that um, he said he was going to keep me, and he really did. He happened to be somebody who was removed from a home. He didn't know that he was moving into my home to be adopted. He did not know that he was never going back to the home that he was in. Um, Two of my boys had previously been adopted and then returned. Um, so each
But
relationship
just to be clear, return to foster care. So we're adopted into a family,
returned to
then return to foster
returned to
care.
foster care. Um, the first four, one, two, yeah, one, two, of the first four, three were in residential treatment centers or group homes. So they didn't have like a family experience. Many of my boys failed in a family setting. And so that's why they were in the sort of residential treatment
Can
situations.
you just be specific about, just give us some examples of what failure in a family means?
Well, they couldn't find a placement for them that was long lasting because of either their behavior or family circumstances, but mostly because it wasn't a good fit. Um, I didn't go into uh, this to rescue anybody, right? And I think a lot of parents who go down this path think of rescuing in a sense. It's like it's a mistake. They're not pets, right? They're human beings, and um, a lot of kids don't want to be rescued, or certainly they don't want to feel like they're being rescued. Their pride is a big part of who they are. Gratefully, I mean, hopefully, I mean that's what you want. Um, and so they had to learn how to trust me. None of my kids had a father figure, so that was a big issue. Um, they didn't know how to manipulate me like they might manipulate a female, and that's really what they were doing. And that was sort of a defense mechanism that they learned how to do. Um, they called me old school because I was so, you know, I don't know that I was overly strict, but I had clear boundaries. And that's something that they're not used to because if you're in a group home, you're these kids, my kids were not raised by parents. They were raised by staff who would come in for a shift and then leave and come in for a shift and leave. So those were not parental relationships, right? And so when people are out, there's a substitute. All of the things that they learned in terms of surviving were not necessarily going to benefit them in a family.
Joe, we have four people waiting to ask
Okay,
questions, but I think in the interest of time, because we also have about 20, a little less than 25 minutes left to our meeting, and we do want to hear from Abdul. Abdul, I just want to test to see if you can hear us and speak.
Hello,
Okay.
hello.
yes,
Yeah.
you can.
Okay. Good. So you can hear us and speak. I'm going to have Thais speak, just ask a question for Joe, and then we're going to switch over to Abdul, and then Azmi, and I think Zainab, and there was somebody else. It might have been Estelle. If you guys do have questions, please put them in the Zoom chat for Joe. And Joe, if you could answer them in the Zoom chat, that would be great,
Okay,
because we can keep a record of these
right.
things. Tice, you had a question.
Hi,
Yeah.
just interested in this whole the broad definition of family, and um, there's a big age difference. It seems like 33 is the oldest, and what was the youngest? 19,
19, 19.
19.
Mhm.
So I was wondering, did you all live together at some point, like all 10? And now that everyone's kind of adults, how does that look as a family? Are you still close? How did they trust each other? I know you said there were some issues with trusting as a parent. And then lastly, if there are any like social policy barriers that you encountered to adoption, because I see you've adopted 10, and I know people personally who have not been able to adopt one. They said it was just too hard.
So uh, I have never seen all of my sons together once in one place. They've all met each other, but we have never been together all at once. Um, and because they're of that, one of the oldest I adopted was 20. So they've moved into their own places and we live in different parts of the country. I moved from New York to Alabama with three of them. Now two of them in Florida, one's in Pennsylvania, one's moving to Las Vegas. So they're moving apart. We are close when we get together. It's like, you know, it's funny for them. They don't necessarily stay in touch with each other. But when we arranged to be together, you wouldn't know any different, that you would think that they lived with each other from birth. Um, and I did not have, I mean, I not only grew up in the system, but I worked in the system for a minute and I was an educator. So I'm really a systems expert. So, and it did help that I was in the state of New York. So I didn't run into any hurdles that I couldn't sort of manage. But I do know what you're talking about. There's states where, although it's not really legal, they discourage single people from adopting, and that's you know unfortunate. But and the and it is hard. It's hard. You have to do the work. You have to take classes to be prepared for to be a foster parent. Um, and if the classes are truthful, it makes you a lot of people start those classes and then decide I can't do this because it's too hard. And that's okay, right? That's absolutely okay. I was sort of built for this, so um, I don't want to take up,
Yeah.
but
Thank you.
I
Yeah. So you have some questions, Joe, in the Zoom chat. If you it could be great if you can answer those.
sure.
And thanks to Estelle, Madeline and Zainab, and I believe Azmi, who asked some good questions here in the Zoom chat. Abdul, if you can, you don't have to do not turn on your camera. Just go with video audio because I suspect that that might be difficult for you given connection issues. So if you want to go ahead and start, and I'm going to share my screen because Abdul has shared 3 photos with me of his family. Go ahead, Abdul. And he's joining us from Ghana, and he's one of our family diplomats.
Thank you very much, Paul, for this opportunity. And for here, I would say good evening because that is 4:42 p.m. here. Well, in the first picture that you are seeing, that's my kids. That's my kids. The elderly one is the tallest among them, and she is 11 years old. Her name is Mariam. I named her after my mother, who is late since 2006. The one next to her on the right is her younger sister. I call her Yumnat, which means beautiful. And they all have their local names. The first child, Mariam, is called Maltiti. That's a local name. Yumnat is called Wumpini. The one next to Yumnat is Saifullah, and he's called Kasi. The one next in the yellow clothing is called Muhammad Hafiz, and he is also called Fako. And the one in front of Mariam is Ma'amun, also called Yuriza. And they're all my kids. And the one in front of their sister is the youngest among them.
Great. Abdul, do you want me to switch to the next photo?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So in this picture, it's me in the red hat with my dad in our middle, who passed on last 2 years, same in June. Yeah, somewhere 16th or 15th, we'll be celebrating his 2 years of demise. The one next to my dad is my senior brother, the one I'm next to, with his 2 kids. Yeah. And my brother name is called Osman, and my father is Suleimana. The little girl on my brother's hand is called Mariam, also named after our mom. And the one next to the small boy is called Abdul Wasser, who will be writing his basic exams this year. Okay.
Okay. Is that your mother?
And yeah, that's my mother. Uh, my mother, she was called Mariam Mushi. She passed on whilst I was still waiting for my senior high results. That was in 2006. Yeah. So I basically, that's just my family. I also have about 3 sisters, but I don't have their pictures here right now. I have 3 sisters who are behind me, but they gave birth to me before they gave birth to the females. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Um, so Abdul, I imagine we will have some questions from different people here. Tice, I don't know if you have your hand up because you're ready with some question, and it's good to see your son. Adrian, good to see you. I'm glad you're back home for the summer, and Adrian was one of our interns this spring. So questions that you guys have for Abdul. because he's revealed stuff about just the composition of his family, but he hasn't told us all that much about either challenges or about that the family faces. We also talk about culture of families, and so
Well,
if you have questions.
with challenges, what I would say is there's no human being without challenges, no matter how satisfied you are in life. Uh, if it's about financial, yes, you might be financial satisfied, but health-wise, there might be challenges. And the financial wise too, sometimes there are challenges, but in all, we can always say give thanks to God because we are content with what we have and we're okay with it. With the cultural, uh, we have a beautiful culture here, and then very soon, somewhere Friday going, we'll be celebrating a festival we call Eid al-Adha. Uh, that's one of our biggest festivals that we normally celebrate. It is a festival that animals are killed just to do merrymaking and also share whatever you have with families and friends around you. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Estelle.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing. You have such a beautiful family. I just was wondering, what are some of your favorite traditions that you have with your family?
Favorite traditions? Well, with for tradition, here we have taken away the tradition because we have tradition, we have religion. So we have adopted the religion more than the traditional aspects. So what I normally do is sometimes I lead them in prayers. I also teach them how to pray and also how to recite the Holy Quran, which is our only guidance. Yeah, and also teach them to be humble in life and be content with whatever they have and stop unnecessary competitions with their colleagues.
Hmm.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Abdul, I've always found it when I learned that at least practicing Muslims pray 5 times a day and facing Mecca, the city of Mecca, but it seems quite a challenge sometimes to have to be able to have the time and to be able to make the time to pray 5 times a day. Does your family pray 5 times a day?
Yes, we do pray 5 times a day, and it's not about we face Mecca. What we normally do is we face where we have the sunrise. So even at where we are, in my area, I might be facing at where the sun rises. And if I go out to another area, I might be facing another direction because their sun might not be rising same as mine. So basically, we assume that where the sun rises is where the Kaaba is situated. So that is how we observe our prayers. And we do it 5 times a day.
Hmm. Wow. Um, Tice, then Zainab.
Hi, I have a very, maybe even an odd question. So I have an 11-year-old daughter, and we live in an area that is predominantly, um, her friends are all from India, Pakistan, Afghanistan,
Mm,
and American culture, little girls, especially tweens, love to have sleepovers where they sleep over at their friend's house. I'm Jamaican background. That was not very popular with my parents and in our culture. What I'm seeing is her friends are really culturally just that is not allowed. Um, Part of it is we don't know they don't know the family that their child will be staying with. Another part is not feeling comfortable with girl children, staying in a home with husbands or older brothers, but just a lot of different considerations. Again, I kind of understand some of that because I wasn't allowed as a child, but I thought about it because I have some friends here who are American who are uh, very they're actually kind of upset about it because they don't understand why um, these children cannot have these sleepovers. So I was just wondering, in your culture, is that something that's very popular or it's not even a thing really? Just kind of looking at some cultural differences.
Well, when you talk about sleepover, Here it's you have to be an adult before you can sleep over at a friend's place. And sometimes sleeping over comes with different repercussions. If your family are not aware that you are sleeping over at a friend's place, it might attract some penalties or some discipline. And another one is if you start sleeping over, it might be that you are trying to go wayward. So actions need to be taken to curtail that. But at the age of 11, you are not allowed to go and sleep at a friend's place, unless, of course, with an extended family member or with your immediate family.
Okay. Thank you. The
Yeah.
differences
You're
are,
welcome.
yeah, very interesting.
Good,
Thank you for
good, good,
sharing.
good question, Thais. Zainab.
Hi, thank you, Joel, for sharing the stories and the photos of your family. I'm also Muslim, and I'm wondering two things. One, if you have any plans for Eid al-Adha next week, and also I know that Nigerian Muslims are very similar to Ghanaian Muslims. I'm wondering if you also speak Hausa, because I
Well,
do,
I
and I'm just wondering, yeah.
my Hausa is not all that good. Yeah, it's not all that good. You know, Hausa is meant for people we call the Zongo people. Yeah, if I happen to find myself in the Zongo enclaves, then my Hausa would have been very much fluent. But Ghana, Ghana per se is not a Hausa speaking country, though we have a whole lot of different languages in Ghana, but Hausa is not one of our languages. It is an adopted one. So if I say I understand Hausa, it means I've learned it. But it's not our language. And I'm still learning it. And with the plans that I have for Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Adha, you just need to get yourself some new clothing, get some food that you can share with your family and friends. And that is just my plans. Yeah.
You said new.
Especially the happiness of the children's matter. So even if I don't have a new clothing for the celebration, but the children should be able to have it.
New clothing, you said. So you have to buy new clothing for your kids for a Eid, if I'm getting the holiday.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, just for them to be happy because it is a special festival. Anytime it is coming on, then you need to find yourself some new clothing. Because on that day, everyone is in a new clothes for that special prayer, and after which you can do your merrymaking.
Wow. It's a lot of clothing. I guess every year you have to buy new clothing just for the holiday. Um, Asmi, and then also we have a question from, and I think it's an interesting question from Joshua, who's joining us from Uganda. So Asmi, go ahead first, then Joshua, and then I think we'll have to close up.
Yeah. Hey, Abdul. Thank you for sharing your story. Um, I'm seeing a lot of families with a lot of children. As a person who only comes from a family of two kids, or me and my brother, it's fascinating to see the dynamics in a bigger family. My question is, um, like, what are some of the aspirations of your children? Like, do they want to be astronauts, or like, what are some goals they have?
Certainly, they have big aspirations, just as me, as the parents. As I pray for them, no one would like to see your child being a nuisance to the society. So I think they are. That is why at the younger age, they are already put in school to learn, so that as they grow up, they themselves will be able to choose what they want and not the parents choosing or forcing them into fields that will not satisfy them. So they have aspirations of become astronauts, doctors, nurses, teachers, anything that will make them happy and they'll be content with it. I think I'm okay with that.
Joshua, do you, and I don't know if Joshua's listening. Yeah, Joshua, if you want to speak your question about the mother and his wife and the parenting style in Ghana.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Okay,
sharing. That's,
thank you.
uh, that your family. I was just curious to know about their mother and your parenting style in Ghana because I didn't I think if I don't know whether I just missed it out, but I did get you hear you mention about their mother. I'm just curious to know, are you are you raising them solely, just to borrow from Toll's story,
And alone.
maybe
But from
they would need a mother figure, just like the girls, just like the boys how they are trained now to catch up the father figure, just like the Joseph's story. Thank you.
Joshua, can you come again? I didn't get the last part.
Abdul, he's wondering about whether or not there's a mom or you're parenting alone. And then if you can just talk about parenting style. I'm not sure what Joshua's trying to get at, but it may be having to do with gender roles. In other words, do wives do different things than husbands in your culture?
Well, yes, in terms of gender roles, yes. Uh, in terms of culture, with regards to gender roles, yes, because it's hardly will you see a man backing a child or a baby outside. Hardly will you see that. We presume that it is the duty of the mother to always carry the child, either in front or at the back. And yeah, there is a mother. I'm not doing the parenting alone, and the mother is even a teacher, and we do that together. Sometimes I can be outside. Before I come back, she will help them to do their homework. And sometimes when I'm also there, especially for me and my kids, they always like me bathing them than their mothers. So every day I have to bath them before I could take my bath. And sometimes I would dress them up, take them to school before I can also go to wherever I want to go to. So it's a shared responsibility, but not one person.
Abdul, just to, if I'm understanding correctly, in public, the wife is expected to carry the children, not the husband, and then in private at home, the mother bathes the children, not the husband. Is that correct?
Well, culture-wise, that is the perception that it is only the woman who is supposed to perform those duties. But that misconception is now diminishing because I have, as a parent, I don't think like other parents. I see it as a shared responsibility. I bath my children, I take them to school, but you might see someone who says no. It's the duty of of my wife to bath the children and also take them to school, come back and cook for me. So it's individual difference, even though we have a culture, but there's also individual difference when it comes to parenting.
Okay. And then to Joshua's question, did you have he's asking, do you have a wife and is she helping you with childcare?
Yes, I think I said that
Yeah.
she is, and she is a teacher. Like I said, sometimes I can still be outside, and by the time I come back, she will help them to do their homework, cook for them to eat, and try to put them to sleep before I could even come back. And when I'm also back early, I help them to do their homework, bath them, then they go to bed. So it's a shared responsibility.
Gotcha. Okay. Really interesting discussion, as usual. Really enjoyed having kind of quite different perspectives from Ghana and from the United States on parenting. I want to wrap things up because we are at a little after 1 o'clock and I want to respect your time. But Clinton, I don't know if you can still hear us, who's joining us from Zambia. Would love to for you to present at one of our future meetings about your family. And for those of you who have not presented yet, who would like to present in an upcoming month, you are welcome to just contact me and let me know. We would love to have you present about your family at some point. Um, so thanks everybody for your time. And we will be meeting again. I just want to remind you on the first of the month. So that means that our next meeting will be on July 6th, which for people in the United States means it's Independence Day weekend. But nonetheless, we're meeting on
Hmm.
July 6th. So um, everybody have a good rest of your
Well,
Sunday. And oh, Joe.
yeah, just if anybody wanted to find out more about my family, I put the website in the chat and the my YouTube channel, so they
Yes.
can see more videos and things about my kids.
Yeah, and by the way, so Joe has a foundation, the Joe Tolles Foundation, devoted to foster care kids, and I'm assuming you've shared that. But by all means, Joe, also share it to the Zoom chat with our Facebook group, because people may not know about it, and it's great to support the foundation. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for your time. See you next month. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye,
Bye
everyone.
bye.